Thank you, Sam, for the summary of the different webinars we have been through for the last couple of months, and thank you very much for your facilitation of all these webinars. Also, I would like to thank all those who attended these webinars and contributed to these webinars. I think it was a bit difficult, but I think we were up to the challenge by organizing all these webinars and reinforcing the bridges and the communication between Latin America and North Africa. Yes, I tried to put some notes regarding this session and also the last one. I have seen and I have noted a number of similarities between the two regions. Of course, we are in two different cultures. Well, I mean, two very far geographic areas, two different cultures, different production systems, and different ways people are interacting with their land and their livestock. However, a number of common things we need to consider in the future for our future collaboration between CIMIT, ICARDA, other CG centers like CIAT also, which who have a strong presence in Latin America. One of them could be forest production. I think we have seen quite a lot, and we heard quite a lot about forest production as an important entry point to the CLCA systems, to integrated crop livestock systems and the conservation agriculture. And I think this is not coming from nowhere. I mean, we know, and my colleagues who are more in the agronomy know very well how important is the presence of forages in the rotations to stabilize systems and to have efficient mixed systems. Another important point, irrespectively of what animal species we are talking about, you are dealing with sheep and goats, you have llama, probably have a mix of cattle, of beef cattle and also sheep and goats in Mexico, is livestock feeding. And also this is an important thing to consider if we are addressing to work in the mixed farm system. I also would like to add something in addition to feeding, which is very important, and we know how important is feeding in the livestock enterprises and how much it's important for the smallholders. Is also the fact that animal health came also as a strong demand. We had it as a strong demand in North Africa, and the other day I also heard that in Mexico there was also a demand for interventions related to animal health. And I think this is also something we need to consider and also to broaden the disciplines which can be part of studying mixed crop livestock systems. Something also important, which I think is also a common point, is how to combat erosion. We heard about the windbreaks. We know what we are doing in North Africa in terms of reducing erosion, assessing erosion, because everybody knows that, you know, if erosion continues to prevail, then you know, at the end of the day, there will be no systems to talk about. So I think these are also some of the technical aspects we need to consider. Anyway, part of all this, we were asked in the framework of this project to assess and to consider to compare CLCA options across the two regions. And I think at this stage, we have quite a number of indicators, quite a number of findings to come up with the various CLCA options in the two regions and to possibly compare and come up with some assessment of these different options. This is on the technical side. In terms of approach, on the way we work, I think there are quite also a number of important things to highlight here between what was done in Latin America and North Africa. For example, the knowledge and scaling hubs. And you will be surprised later because I will show, I have a couple of slides. Let me know, Sam, when I'll be able to show these two slides. And you will be surprised of some of the findings we find around these knowledge and scaling hubs. And this is a common methodology, and to show where is the interest of people who are looking at us, people who are waiting for us, what are they exactly looking for? So I would like to share this and to show this. So on the knowledge and scaling hubs, I think this is, there are quite a number of good ideas and brilliant ideas, that should not fade away after the CLCA and should be taken up somewhere else. Also on the approach to work, for example, the farm design to assess the trade-offs. This is also a common tool we are using between Latin America and North Africa. And I think this is also very important. Of course, I will leave the floor to Santiago to also make his comments, but I have just one more point I would like also to highlight. I just realized that at the end of the day, after 4 years of working together, llama and sheep and goats are not different. They are not different in a way that, look at the policies in Bolivia, policies which are promoting quinoa. And also now in North Africa, policies which are promoting wheat, in terms of pricing, the prices, etc. And these policies are now even making these crops even much stronger and pushing farmers to adopt more of these crops because of the problems in Ukraine and the problems in wheat supply. For example, in Tunisia, prices for wheat have increased considerably this year. What is going to happen? This is putting the livestock, whether quinoa and llama or whether wheat and sheep and goats, this is going to threaten even more the livestock. And this is even going to push even further the livestock to the corners. And I think this is an important point. We did not miss, but we need to think about it, and there should be some work at the policy level, telling the people who are in charge of the agriculture strategies in the different countries, to see and to sort of, to foresight what their decision may have on the livestock. I think the livestock today, for example, I take the example of Tunisia because this is the case I know very well. The prices of wheat are pushing the livestock out. Also, the prices in the increase in the prices of the feed, are making livestock, I would say, just impossible to maintain. So please, it's not because I'm a livestock scientist and I don't like, and I'm not biased to livestock, but this is a very important activity to maintain. And we have seen in many places, just ask these people to go and read, what the FAO has published after the COVID-19. What has permitted to communities in many parts of the world to stand up on their feet after the COVID-19? It was livestock first. It was not trees, it was not crops, livestock first. Thanks a lot. And I can say more later on if needed. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Mourad. I'm sure we'll get back to your slides on the knowledge hubs as well. I won't forget that. And important point about livestock being important to soil sustainability, but also to farmer sustainability as providing that backup income sources we saw in Africa, for example. Santiago, are you there? And do you have any reflections yourself on which are the main findings and the low-hanging fruits for collaboration in the future?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mourad. I think you said many of the things I was noting down a few hours ago. And well, first I would like to thank the partners, that developed, the colleagues and the partners that actually were very, very open to test new things and to have a different approach to what they were normally doing in terms of very, as Mourad said, very specialized kind of development approach. If quinoa is a profitable crop, let's go for quinoa. If wheat has a very good price, let's go for wheat. And I think our partners, they really adopted this idea of mixed crop livestock systems. They really understand that the equilibrium that these two components of the system offer to the sustainability, in terms of soil conservation, risk management, as Mourad was saying. So I think it's already an outcome of this project, is that after this collaboration with partners, we managed to put in their agenda this crop livestock integration perspective. In terms of, so I agree with most of I think Mourad put very well. Well, thanks, Sam, for putting more like the technical and some recapitulation of each of the sessions. I think it's important to pinpoint the low-hanging fruits, let's say, at different levels, from the very technical one to something more strategic aspects in terms of methodologies and value chains and environment and aspects. I would like, well, then I guess, yeah, as Mourad said, I think it's very important the diversification. No, I think the diversification of cropping systems with a livestock perspective, it has been something that it's common in all cases. Relay cropping with forage mixtures, we are in arid areas and semi-arid areas, so we really need to make the most out of water. And to make the most out of water, we have to be able to, so the relay cropping and the diversification with different routes exploring different areas of the soil in space, but also in time, using residual humidity to generate more biomass, it's key. No? And then all the aspects related to soil health and soil fertility. So all these options, they imply an improvement in terms of soil carbon, soil organic matter, which then implies better water holding capacity, then better water use efficiency, and better nutrient use efficiency. So understanding these causality chains and the advantages, not only for the production of fodder for animals, which is really important, and I think that's one of the aspects that farmers really appreciated, to see green fodder even when their maize or their quinoa was already, or the wheat was already in a drying moment. In North Africa, it's more about rotations. Probably in Latin America, we were more into relay cropping. But at the end is generating more biomass per cubic meter of water or per millimeter of rainfall. That's really like the key and the central aspects to all the innovations we were trying. So I think manure management and understanding the importance of recycling nutrients and carbon and putting back carbon into the soil, it's key. No? And I think it has been tested and it has been improved in each of the sites. No? We saw the importance of supplementary feeding of livestock, because there are some lean moments in the year that they are really suffering from forage or fodder. So the nutrient blocks in Mexico, they were very successful across farmers. They were really asking for more of that. And as Mourad said, I think the more we start intensifying the system, the more we need to worry a bit on the animal health. So farmers, they are really worried on animal health. They are always worried that they will have a disease that will, well, that first will make an inefficient use of the fodder they are producing, but also that they may just get wiped out by a disease for all the animals. So desparasitation, vaccination, and animal health in general is something that we should be able to strengthen that part of the system to improve the sustainability of the whole crop livestock system. I think, as Mourad said, something very important also here and related to this carbon story is the erosion control. No, in Mexico it was probably more slopland and it was runoff and water erosion, but in the other places it's probably more wind erosion. So wind barriers in Bolivia were really well accepted, and people is looking for more shrubs that allow to stop this erosion of the wind and the additional evaporation that the wind brings. So having a natural resource management perspective, more probably at the landscape level, to make sure that we are avoiding as much as possible this wind erosion and rainfall erosion and this wind evaporation issue. I think that is where we can also do a lot of things. Now, I agree with the scaling hubs. I think they are key. No, I think we have had similar kind of approaches to engage with partners and farmers in a more adaptive way, where we are not coming up with a solution, but we are coming up with a basket with a set of guiding principles, and then we go slowly trying to adapt these solutions to the conditions of different farmers. And then, so in that sense, I think that the more strategic way is, I think we have managed and we will be able to collaborate further in terms of these methodologies for targeting, no, to identify the diversity of farming systems. No? So, okay, which kind of options within our basket can be adapted to the specific conditions of farmers or farm types. So depending on the ratio between livestock and crops, the importance of crops and livestock for different aspects of the sustainability of the system, we can fine-tune better these opportunities. So some farmers that they didn't have much livestock, they will prefer go more into the mechanization and leaving residues into the soil. But farmers with more livestock, more importance of livestock, they will really push more for diversification with fodder and forage mixtures, additional supplemental nutrition, etc. So this targeting, it has, I think there is a real opportunity for collaboration, and this targeting goes together with this kind of multi-criteria assessment. We cannot just think of yield and yield and yield. Crop yield is one aspect on the sustainability of this system. We have to think of soil health. We have to think of livestock productivity, the risk management aspects related to resilience, to adaptability, etc. So I think the multi-criteria assessment using a systems perspective, and farmers, they understand the importance of the equilibrium of the system between the crop and the livestock components. And as Mourad said, sometimes markets and policies have pushed towards specialization and abandoning the livestock component in some cases. We need to be able to re-find this equilibrium between the different components, which has been there forever and has made the sustainability of the system as it is now. And we have to enforce that systems perspective and this idea of understanding the role of the different components of the system and the different criteria or the different indicators that we need to use to assess in a good way the contribution of the different elements and their interconnection into the sustainability of the whole system. Something that I think we can add to, well, I think that the policy aspect, therefore, the policy aspect that Mourad has mentioned is really important. It is difficult for policies are very commodity specific, no? So I understand the difficulties of making policies that take into account this systems perspective. But slowly, and for example, Bolivia is a good example where a lot of policies were put into quinoa. Quinoa had a boom. Llama was abandoned. And now they are developing policies more for llama, but taking into for improving and strengthening the llama production and llama value chains, but taking into account the quinoa aspects. So probably more integrated policies, more local policies that understand the characteristics of the landscape, of the territory, and of the farmers there can be an opportunity for further collaboration. One last thing that I think is key, and we have found it as a key aspect in all our interventions, is value chains. Value chains of fodder and forage production seeds. Value chains for some of in Mexico, some specialty maize, like strengthening the associativity of farmers and the value chains to make the best out of the products they get out of the system, as well as for inputs such as the mechanization options, as well as seeds and raw materials for supplementary feeding, right? So those are the main elements I see as potential for future collaboration across our centers. The systems thinking, the value chains, the integrated policies on the top of all the more technological aspects related to soil and water conservation and to animal health and to the diversification of cropping systems. So to conclude, some of you may be aware that we are in reform in the CGR, and there are some new programs called initiatives. So we have developed an initiative where ICARDA is and the same colleagues, Mourad, Ayman, Nida, they are all included, which is an initiative on mixed farming systems. And this is very important because that means that the CGR is starting to have a more system perspective, a more integrated view at reality of rural households that have all these different components, each of them playing different roles. So I am sure, and because we have worked together with Ayman and Mourad and the ICARDA team to develop this project. One of the issues is that there is no case studies in North Africa nor in Latin America, but these learnings on systems perspective, targeting innovations out of a basket of potential technical innovations, they will be somehow contribute as a learning to this new initiative, which should be going for a few years from now on. So I'm sure that within that initiative, we can capitalize a lot on the learnings we had, and we can continue to collaborate and harvest these low-hanging fruits. I leave it to you back, Sam, and I'm here for any kind of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Santiago. So if you have any questions or comments on this theme of which are the main important low-hanging fruits for collaboration, you can put up your hand or put your question into the chat. And meanwhile, well, both of you raised some very important points. Firstly, the relevance of the CLCA innovations. As we're seeing, the market pressures on farmers with the high food prices, with the high feed prices are not receding, they're actually increasing. Also the competition and the lack of water sources, that is only set to increase. The environmental pressures, which are also causing low soil health, poor soil health, are also increasing. So it seems clear in your evaluation that it's a relevant set of innovations. So on that, I don't know if Mourad, you had some slides you wish to share about the knowledge hubs and the kinds of activities you are seeing there and the enthusiasm among farmers. I don't know if you want to share those now.
Yes, very quickly. Yeah, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
I can see it. Just remember to put it into presentation mode.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Yes, we did a very quick exercise. You remember we talked about the CLCA website which is harvesting all the knowledge products from the mail system at ICARDA. And we looked at them, so we have about 170 products already uploaded in mail, which are directly related to CLCA project. And this is how they how they are distributed by type, book chapters, news, data set, books, manuscripts, etc. Some interesting thing is that the CLCA has managed to the CLCA project to publish 12 papers, journal articles, and all of them are in, of course, in international ISI peer-reviewed journals, and many of the journals have a very high impact factor. Of course, we have also the donor reports, blogs, etc., and quite a lot of technical reports and presentations and technical presentations which are uploaded in this area. We looked at the top altmetrics attention score, and the altmetrics attention score, I think, is something which is calculated by Mel, and it's something which takes into consideration the number of views, the number of downloads, etc. And what I wanted to show is that the top scoring product in the NEL is a manual which is on the self-sustained scaling hubs for agricultural technologies, which was produced by ICARDA colleagues, and it is mainly in the framework of CLCA, and it is mainly for the conditions in North Africa. So I just wanted to say that, and of course, the second top scoring product is a paper which also assesses the long-term effect of conservation agriculture on wheat-based systems in Tunisia. And in this paper, we delineate an area of 3,100 hectares, which can be put under conservation agriculture if we want to avoid major negative impacts on the environment and the natural resources. Of course, 300,000 hectares may sound a bit small, but it's quite important and big for a country of the size of Tunisia. These are the other documents. Some of them are also from Latin America, like here, for example, the video on scaling sustainable quinoa systems in the highlands of Bolivia, which has quite a number of high views. So the point I wanted to make is that we may publish papers, we may put technical material, technical solutions, but this is an indicator, at least this is why I interpreted, that people are looking for ways and means and solutions to scale technologies and to put technologies at scale. And I think this is the talking subject of everyone today, even at the CG, how we can scale our technologies. So this document, I think, is important, and I am sure there are also quite a number of other documents on scaling which are produced by CIMMYT, which are probably not in MEL. Of course, we don't have all the products. We have 170 products. Many products are in the pipeline towards the end of the project. And I'm sure we are also not considering all the products which have been produced by CIMMYT. So this is what I wanted to share with you, Sam and colleagues. And thanks a lot.
Thank you. This is really, it's impressive progress. And I think it's testament to the work which has been done in the project. So congratulations on those numbers. One thing which I find, which as someone coming from outside and coming to have this experience with the project, is in the initial project notes, in the way in which the project was introduced to me, it seemed that conservation agriculture practices posed a challenge to crop livestock systems because of a competition for feed use, for example. But listening to you and over these weeks, listening to you, it seems something actually very different, that the CLCA project is rather championing mixed crop livestock systems and trying to promote their viability and their permanence, and even to roll them out even further as they were in the past. Is this something which has happened over the project? Maybe you've come to observe the state of farming systems in these different contexts, or is it something which you're already aware of? And would you say that the CLCA project has developed a winning formula for these mixed livestock systems, which can be applied more broadly across these contexts, or even in other countries with similar situations? Let's try Mourad or Santiago, rather to both.
Yeah, I think it's basically, I think that the origin is the origin of the challenge is this idea of competition of resources by the different components of a mixed system for the available biomass at the end of the game. And I think that what this project has managed to do since the very beginning is to get rid of a very dogmatic view of what is conservation agriculture. In an extreme, conservation agriculture is leave all residues, or more than 60% of residues in the field, zero movement of the soil, and crop diversification. I think what this project did is try to get rid of those dogmatic views of conservation agriculture, get the best entry points. These elements of conservation are good. The principles are good. Let's diversify cropping systems. Let's try to not move the soil too much. And let's try to keep as many residues in the field and try to cover the surface to avoid erosion and soil degradation. So what I think this project did is to get rid of the dogmatic view of conservation agriculture, using a systems perspective as an entry point. So understanding these mixed crop livestock systems, they have been there, they will be there. They have been pushed towards disequilibrium, towards unequilibrium, because it has been very much towards probably crop production, ignoring the livestock component. So I think that the key is starting with how the system looks and how do we improve the system, rather than coming with a technological solution and then making that the system adapts to that technological solution. That would be my view.
And how about yourself, Mourad? I mean, would you say, for example, if you were to look at another region, another target country, would you say that there is a clear model proposed by CLCA and proven by CLCA which could be adapted relatively easily to other contexts?
I think I think Santiago, first of all, summarized it very well. What we did is that we freed ourselves from the rigid principles of conservation agriculture. And we looked at, many people would have put, conservation agriculture first with its principles and rigid pillars, and then they would probably have tried to look at the other components of the system. And this way it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. We learned this from the first phase, where we worked in Algeria, Tunisia, and in Central Asia, in Tajikistan. We learned that the rigidity of conservation agriculture in drylands, in the smallholders, is no go. Doesn't work. So we came with this concept of flexible options of conservation agriculture and flexible options of integrating livestock and the conservation agriculture. And I think what we did is that we were looking at some entry points which were smart, to the farmers, which were attractive to the farmers. You know, not putting conservation agriculture first, but probably starting doing work on livestock and then integrating forages into the system and integrating smart ways to work the land and to plow the land, etc., etc. So I think this is the most important the most important outcome of the project, and this is so there is no prototype for us. You know, there's no prototype of conservation of crop livestock integration system. It is something which is contextualized. We probably have some broad principles, but they have to be adapted to local context and challenges.